Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Student Perspective channel. My name is Tarun, the founder of the Student Perspective, and in this video, I want to share with you guys how to approach your extracurricular activities. I've created a new playlist called College Applications on the Student Perspective YouTube channel, and you can find all of our videos on that playlist. Similar to our last video about BSMD programs, I created a presentation to help walk you through what extracurriculars are, as well as a personal example of what extracurriculars I had in order to apply for colleges. Before we get to the presentations, please let me know down below in the comment section or DM us on Instagram if you want to see more videos about college applications and what specific videos you want to see that will help you with your college application process. So let's just get straight into the presentation. Extracurriculars need no introduction. Everyone knows what they are and everyone knows that they're important, but there are a lot of misconceptions about how people approach their extracurriculars. Additionally, there's great debate about whether extracurriculars are underrated or overrated, so let me address all of these concerns in this presentation. For reference, I currently attend Texas A&M University, and I am in the Science to Medicine BSMD program. I already discussed the specifics of the BSMD program that I'm in the last video about BSMD programs in general. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about what extracurriculars I had to get into A&M in the first place. First, let's answer the biggest question about extracurriculars. How much do they matter? This is a pretty broad question with a lot of details, so let us dig deeper. It goes without saying that extracurriculars are crucial for college applications, as they show that you're not just some student who spends their entire life studying. That said, how much they matter really depends on the school you go to. If you're interested in going into an in-state public school, extracurriculars probably won't matter as much as you think they do. In fact, if you go to a small in-state public school, the admissions committee probably don't even look at your extracurriculars, but just look to see if you meet the academic requirements. That said, if you plan on going to an elite out-of-state public school or any private school, you're going to have to really focus on what activities you do. These schools have a strong reputation for building leaders, so they're looking for students who show promise outside of school. I recommend you watch my first video about how to approach college applications, as in that video, I discuss how to pick the schools you want to apply to. Once you know what schools you want to apply to, you can develop a list of extracurriculars you want to put on your college applications. There are two main approaches to extracurriculars, the well-rounded approach and the spike approach. I'll discuss both of these approaches on the next slide, but let's get this straight. What you do for extracurriculars definitely matters. 10 times out of 10, colleges would rather pick a student who has done internships and research over someone who spends most of their time gaming or babysitting. That said, there's no such thing as a bad extracurricular. If you spend the majority of your time babysitting, but can relate it to your love for children and how it fuels your passion to become a pediatrician, then that could actually be a strong extracurricular. So it all depends on how the activity works with your narrative. Whatever extracurricular you choose, I really suggest you keep in mind that they shouldn't be just for the sake of impressing colleges. If you decide to do research for college applications, but don't even like what you're researching, then you're going to feel like you're wasting your time, which is the worst thing you can do. Every activity you do should be out of passion, and you should genuinely be interested in what you do because these activities are a great way for you to explore different careers. For example, if you go do some shadowing and pass out from someone's knee getting open, then I don't think surgery is the right career for you. Additionally, extracurriculars are a good way to give back to the community, especially if you volunteer or hold fundraisers, which is why they're very important for college applications. Essentially, there are two approaches to your extracurriculars. First, you can be what we call a well-rounded student, and essentially you're involved in a wide variety of activities like sports, music, and different clubs and organizations. This is the more common of the two approaches for extracurriculars, and for good reason. It looks extremely impressive on your college application if you're a student who plays varsity soccer, does marching band, and also goes to state competitions, as it means you can manage your time very well. However, it's quite difficult to stand out if you do multiple extracurriculars with a well-rounded approach, because almost everyone is like you. I can name many students right now who are in varsity tennis, the top orchestra, and have made to the state or national level for some club like HOSA or DECA. So essentially, most well-rounded students become a jack of all trades, master of none. However, the well-rounded student approach is very helpful if you're interested in in-state schools or public schools, where extracurriculars don't matter as much, and instead they're looking for achievement. On the other hand, if you have your eyes set on Ivy League or other elite private schools, you should definitely take a spike student approach. Essentially, here you pick one topic of interest and build your extracurriculars around that one field. For example, if I care about the environment and I'm interested in environmental biology as a career, I can build my extracurriculars around the environment. For starters, I can take AP Environmental Science to show that I have taken classes about my field of interest. Additionally, I can have an internship at EPA and start regularly volunteering for trash pickup in the community. So you see how all of these extracurriculars are centered around the environment? It's easier to stand out this way if you take the approach because you're showing that you're dedicated to one field through multiple activities. Especially for private schools like Harvard or Stanford, it is much easier to stand out as a spike student than as a well-rounded student, because you're much more likely to be unique as a spike student depending on your field of interest. So you have higher acceptance chances to these private schools. That said, make sure you think outside the box and take initiatives. Spike students are much less common compared to well-rounded students because it is harder to develop a spike, but the benefits are well worth it if you can. And let me emphasize this last point here. Neither method is wrong. At the end of the day, don't just be a spike student or a well-rounded student for the sake of college applications. Do what you enjoy and make sure you build your extracurriculars around the narrative you want to share to college applications. And like I said, just do what you enjoy and don't do it for the sake of applications. Now that you have a good idea of what kind of student you plan on being, whether that means being a well-rounded student or a spike student, it is important to address the topic of quantity or quality. Let me tell you right now, they both matter. Don't let people on the internet tell you that you only need 4 or 5 quality extracurriculars and that college applications are looking for quality over quantity. They're looking for both. If you only have quality over quantity, it shows that you can't manage your time well because you're only in around 5 or 4 activities. At the same time, don't choose quantity over quality, because then it shows you have no passion towards the 20 or 30 activities that you do. My recommendation for building quality and quantity is that you start early, because the earlier you start, the more likely you are to stand out in that activity. Essentially, you should plan on having 8 to 10 high-quality extracurriculars to write about for college applications, as 10 is the max number of activities you can put on the Common App. You should have anywhere from 25 to 40 activities during your 4 years of high school, and you should be able to trim that down to around 10 to 15 before you ultimately decide which 10 to 8 activities you want to put on the application. 25 to 40 activities may seem like a lot, but trust me, it isn't. Literally anything, and I mean anything, you do outside of studying technically counts as an extracurricular. If you're a gamer and play in esport competitions, then that's extracurricular. If you attend a conference, even for one weekend, that's an extracurricular. Even things that you do normally, like church service or Sunday school, count as extracurriculars. So don't worry about developing a number of activities, just keep in mind what you're doing. Here on this slide, I've listed a couple of strong and weak extracurriculars. I put strong and weak in quotations because, like I said in the beginning, there's no such thing as a strong or weak extracurricular as long as it fits your narrative. That said, here are some things I put in the weak side that I don't recommend you do unless you're really in a pinch. Do not start a club your senior year or join a club your senior year, do nothing, and then just put it on your college applications. That just shows that you slacked off your past 3 years and are catching up now for the sake of applications. Additionally, I recommend that you have at least 100 hours of volunteering. Volunteering is a great way to show that you care about the community. So if you do nothing, or maybe just 10 or 20 volunteer hours, then what's the point of colleges wanting to take you if you don't care about your community? Most competitive applicants have anywhere from 400 to 500 volunteer hours. So 100 volunteer hours doesn't seem like much as long as you consistently volunteer. The last point here about chores may seem like a joke to some of you, but I'm being serious. I have seen students put house chores as an extracurricular because it's technically an activity that they did outside of studying. Just don't do it. On the other hand, here are some good extracurriculars to have. Research and internships are a great way for you to show that you're ready for higher level education. And as you can see, you have a wide variety to choose from, like shadowing if you're interested in medicine, or academic competitions like HOSA, ACDEC, BPA, and DECA. Part-time jobs are a great way to show that you have developed professional skills that are needed for college. And leadership positions are a great way to show that you really care about the community and you know how to do important tasks like delegation and communication. Let me give you a reference of what extracurriculars I put on my college application. For background, I was definitely more of a well-rounded student more than a spike student, as my extracurriculars were of a wide variety. And I'm not going to lie here, but I kind of slacked off on my extracurriculars, as I started most of them my second semester of sophomore year. So I was definitely carried by my stats over my extracurriculars. But this is a good example to show you that no matter how late you start, you can still develop strong extracurriculars. My 10 activities I put on college applications are listed here. My biggest one was definitely academic decathlon, as this is something I did all 4 years of high school and even won awards in. It took up a huge chunk of my time, which is why I put it first. The rest of the extracurriculars are listed in no particular order. The Charitable Students of America, or CSA, was a club that my friends started, and I was one of the first members, and I was the first treasurer of the club. We had many fundraisers and raised thousands of dollars through different events. So you can see how this is an impressive extracurricular, even though this started my junior year of high school. I was also a high school researcher at Baylor Scott and White in Dallas. I shadowed at 2 separate surgeon offices during my time in the Independent Study and Mentorship program in Frisco. And I was in HOSA in all 4 years of high school. So you can see how these all tie into my interest in medicine. As for jobs, I had an internship with the National Breast Cancer Foundation, and I had part-time jobs at Mathnasium and Karen Dillard's College Prep in Frisco. So you can see how all of these were able to develop my communication skills and listening skills, and just other interpersonal skills that are necessary for college and beyond. I was also part of the Mayor's Youth Council, as I was interested in how my hometown of Frisco operated, and so this was a great way for me to show that I was involved in student government. For volunteering, I spent most of my time as a Frisco Family Food Pantry volunteer, and accumulated well over 300 to 400 hours through this opportunity. So you can see that my extracurriculars are of a wide variety, and I was definitely more of a well-rounded student. You can see that my activities that I have here were definitely impressive for college applications, and they were things that I definitely enjoyed doing. And most of them, even though I started kind of late, I made sure to give it my all, which you can see through the results that I had through the activities that I did. So I hope this was a good way for you to see how to approach your extracurriculars, as well as an example of what possible extracurriculars you can have for college applications. So there you have it. I hope you enjoyed this video on extracurriculars. Make sure you follow me on Instagram and follow the Student Perspective on Instagram for more content like this. Make sure you also check out the Student Perspective website, where we have blog posts and workshops that can help you with your college applications. Additionally, make sure you check out the Student Perspective podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. In this podcast, we also talk about college applications and also bring in a bunch of different guests who will share their perspective on colleges in general. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope to see you guys next time.